Hi everybody. The following demonstration today has a focus on anxiety. So if this is something that you suffer from or just experience from time to time, these next few movements of hand reflexology might be something that you'd like to try and might actually help. So if you have anxiety, you'll be very familiar with the physical ailments that it can present with. You can have heart palpitations, dizziness, a sense of kind of brain fog. If you're having an anxiety attack, it can almost feel like a heart attack or a stroke. So it's unpleasant. And it basically happens when the body's fight or flight goes into overdrive and everything gets thrown out of kilter. And it can be quite difficult to bring yourself back. So if you got into the habit of doing these little movements, once a day, even when you're well, when things are going well, and then if you built it up, it might be something nice to have in your toolbox if you did experience an attack, and it would help, and particularly in these times of uncertainty. So all you need is your own hands. You can do it on yourself or you can do it on others. So if you want to maybe get a hand lotion or a balm or a cream, I've just put some on mine, and just rub it in. So just get familiar with rubbing your hands nice and gently. No need for any roughness, no need for, any firmness. Just go at a pace that you like. So just make sure that your hands are nice and moisturized. If they're like mine, they're taking a toll right now from all the additional COVID washing and cleaning and all that sanitization when we have to go to the grocery store. Okay, so there's 6 points that we're going to focus on today. Obviously, if you go to a reflexologist, the preference is possibly on your feet, but right now we can't get to anybody. So this is just some tips to help you help yourself in the meantime. So we're going to start with the head. And the thumbs are the equivalent, they're the reflex area for our head. And as you know, one of the things when you suffer with anxiety is a busy mind. It's like you can't really make sense of anything. So we're going to use this now to calm down the head. So get your thumb and just move it down like that over the whole thumb. If that feels too awkward, use one finger, two finger as they all stack up, 3 or 4. So I'm starting here at the outside and I'm just moving the whole way down my thumb, right down to the base of it. And I'm using a firm but medium pressure. Put on some nice music. And you don't have to go away and find a space, quiet space for this. You can literally do this while you're sitting watching TV, while you're in bed at night time, if you're in the bath, if you're watching the kids run around out the back. But if you can get a nice spot and you have that downtime, put on a bit of soothing music. I have it on there in the background. I don't know if you can hear it, it's quite low. Maybe light a candle. So that's the thumb, that's the head covered. So there's no rush on this. I just want to keep it under 15 minutes so I can upload it to Instagram. So just bring it all the way down, each of the sections of the thumb, nice and gently covering each area. And then we're going to have a little bit of focus on the pituitary gland. And that's the master gland. And it's a key one because when it throws the hormones out of kilter, we're just going to balance that back again. So all I'm doing is I'm taking this finger, you can actually see the indent a bit. I'm just pulsating on it. So I'm keeping it in the same spot, but I'm just rotating it. And you can ease that off, press in. Ease that off, press in. Ease that off, press in. It's actually really soothing. I don't particularly suffer from anxiety, but this is the beauty of this. This is why it's really important to do this when you're well. because I'm already feeling instantly calmer and I have just rubbed one thumb. So that's why it's great to do something like this when things are good. So that's the head and the pituitary. And next we're going to go down to the diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits here under our rib cage. It's a muscle band. And if you're short of breath, which is another thing, you know, if you're kind of anxious, you might have that sense. So doing the diaphragm, so it's just a little awkward here. So basically start here and just move your thumb in whatever way is comfortable for you, all the way across the palm, kind of over there just to the webbing between the thumb. And again, I would say at least 3 times on each hand, but more if you have the time. So that's 2. So that takes any tension out of the reflex point for the diaphragm. 3, probably do it 5 or 6 times. And you can see what I'm doing here now. I was naturally drawn to do that. So it's just like I'm going back over massaging it. So that's actually good that my instinct taught me to do that, because this is the movement that I'm doing. But you might find that uncomfortable. It takes a while to build up that motion and just that strength in the thumb. So it's fine. And again, see here now I'm going the reverse way. So I'm starting at the thumb and I'm massaging the whole way over. And the beauty of that is, if you're not sure of where the diaphragm area is, you know, even just use your 4 fingers and you're massaging the general area and you'll get it. Because the last thing you want to do is, oh, am I exactly where she is? Is she on the line on her hand or below the line on her hand? Don't be that exact. Just massage it and you'll get it. I actually have a little bit of tension here, interestingly enough. So it just feels a little tender, and it feels like there is a little kind of like air bubble in there. Sometimes it can feel like a pip, sometimes it can feel like grit. So there you are. So I was carrying a little bit of tension that I wasn't, you know, necessarily aware of. And that's another really interesting point, because sometimes we can have worries or just carry stuff and we don't know. And of course I have a bit of stress. I'm out of work right now. You know, I can't see my parents or my family like I'd like to. So we all are carrying a little bit. So that's the diaphragm. And the next one then is the lung area. And all along here, so below the fingers and just above the diaphragm is the lung area. So if you can get, let me see if I can do this now. Okay, I'll go up the way. So in between the fingers here, just move the thumb up. And if I was sitting down doing this, to be honest, on myself, I would start this way and I'd move down. Oh shit, I can do it here. Because it's just an easier movement if your hands are facing into yourself like that. So on the inside, it's like this, starting at the base of the fingers and going down, but it's in the palm of your hand. But that's just to show you the movement. And again, the lungs, you know, if you've shortness of breath, you know, which can be quite common. So working the lungs help that, and we can hold a lot of emotion in our lungs. So again, the base of the fingers. And the reason I'm going in between is that you can do it along here as well, in addition, but it's bonier. So you get more value doing it down this way. And again, if you don't want to do that thumb thing, just bring your finger down gently like that, all along each of them. And that's the lung area. And the next point that we're going to go to help with any anxiety is the adrenals. And this really kind of sits in here, you know, at the base of the thumb, kind of around the webbing, the webbed area there. So it's at the base of the second finger, just in there. I actually have a little bit of tenderness there as well. So again, this is a nice one just to kind of hook into. So rotate the finger around like that and then do that pulsation, off and back, off and back. and the adrenals govern our fight and flight. So they're the ones, you know, when you're stuck at the traffic light and you get irritated because the person in front of you didn't go ahead quick enough. Pardon me. So it's very good to soothe them. And they are overactive for the most of us because we just exist in quite a stressful life anyway. You know, we're always rushing and racing someplace, maybe not the last few weeks. So again, if you're not sure where the point is here, don't get fixated on it. Take all of your fingers, you know, or 2 or 3 of them, whatever is comfortable, and rotate. Put on an extra little bit of hand cream and rotate. And again, spend, you know, maybe 30 seconds, a minute around here. And the final point that we're going to work on for anxiety is the thoracic spine. So the spine goes down along here and kind of sweeps in here. So the top is the cervical, and here we have the thoracic, and then it goes into the lumbar and the coccyx. So again, just kind of on the outside here, you know, kind of coming into the palm almost, and just work down that. It's kind of, yeah, it's nearly that area of the 4 fingers. But try and get that movement, you know, so the lymph system and that as well gets moved down. And then what you do is you replicate that on the other hand. So do one hand first, then you go over to the other hand and you do the very same. So remember, so even if you want to get a pen and write it down, but if you follow this sequence, it'll make it easy. So you go down the whole thumb, which covers the head. Then you go back and you go over the pituitary point, which is in the top half. And you hook and rotate and ease off and pulsate. So that's the head and the pituitary. Then you're going down and you're doing the diaphragm all the way across there, all the way over here. And you're going to do that at least 3 times and possibly 6. And then you're going to do the lung area, and that's down in between the fingers and below the fingers if you want. But it's just this area here. And when you have that done, you come down here to the webbing and you do the adrenals and the kidneys, because the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys. So kind of in here, and you work that one. If you're not sure where it is, you just work a bigger circle and you'll get it. And then the 6th is the thoracic, and that's just down here. And you work that down. And just try it. And if you try it on the first day, don't expect miracles. You know, try it a few times in a row, like a week, once a day for a week, and just see. Do it at night time or do it whenever your stresses are. Enjoy the difference it'll make to your hands and just see how you get on with it. And the other thing I would say is if you suffer from anxiety, be very mindful of what you consume. Because if you have a lot of foods like that are sugar loaded and caffeine, you know, a lot of processed foods, it puts a huge demand on your system. And it kind of stops it from doing what it needs to do. So you're heightening it with sugar and processed foods. And then you're trying to calm it down, you know, with other things. So just be mindful that you eat well, you know, drink enough water, get enough sleep, get out in the air if you can, and take really good care of yourself. Thank you for your time. I hope you found it helpful. And I'd just love for you to give it a go and see if it will help you. Thank you.